What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson, and today, we just want to talk about Malik Nabers. We just want to praise him. We want to get excited about him. There's a lot to be negative about with the New York Giants in recent years, all the losing. There's so much controversy surrounding the quarterback position. We don't want to talk about any of that. We just want to talk about how good the New York Giants first-round draft pick is, and just get excited about him. Talk about Malik Nabers, what he's bringing to this team, and how we believe he is truly going to transform the New York Giants offense. We're talking about a playmaker unlike anything that the New York Giants have had since Odell Beckham Jr. when he was in his prime. It's been 5 years since the New York Giants had a 1,000-yard receiver. To put that into perspective, I think there was only one team in the postseason last year that didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver, and there were over 20,000-yard receivers in the NFL in 2023. And the Giants haven't had one in 5 years. So think about that and think about the impact that having a 1,000-yard receiver, a dynamic playmaker like Malik Nabers on this team, the impact is going to be crazy. It's going to be monumental to this New York Giants offense. This is a playmaker who can beat you deep. He could beat you underneath. He could beat you after the catch. He could do it all, and so we're excited to just kind of dive into it and do a little glazing, whatever you want to call it. Just get excited about Malik Nabers in this episode. So we're going to go ahead and dive into him and talk about what makes him such a special talent and why we're really happy that he is a New York Giant. But before we dive into all that, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the channel if you're new, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening to Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? And why are you so excited about Malik Nabers being a New York Giant?
I'm doing great, man. And listen, we talked about the quarterback situation, and I think it's only fair to say to ourselves for a second here, let's kind of put that to rest for a second. I know that a lot of people are still concerned, and just think about this. 2024 is not the only season that Malik Nabers is going to be on this Giants team. We have him for 5 years at a minimum. Hopefully a decade, to be quite honest. So, I want to talk about the future here, like what this type of talent, blue chip, elite level prospect brings to the Giants. So if you look at the NFL, his scouting kind of profile on the NFL website, you'll see that he was the number one ranked receiver in terms of production. You'll see that his pro comp, according to Lance Zierlein, was Justin Jefferson. You'll see that an AFC executive said he likens his toughness to Jamar Chase and his skill set to Jefferson. This is a player that has a blend and a match of talents that you just don't find on the street every day. You don't just stumble upon a player like this. You have to luck into a player like this. You have to be bad enough to secure a player like this. And fortunately for the Giants, they were bad enough to secure a player of this caliber at a very affordable price for the next 5 seasons. So talking about Malik Nabers, we hope that we never have to be this bad again, and we hope that this team gets better because of this kind of transformation in offensive strategy. But the offense is about to undergo something what we probably haven't seen since OBJ was drafted. When OBJ was drafted, this team, lacked that true star receiver. We were looking for that guy. Our team wasn't really balanced. The NFL was going in the direction of more pass-happy offensive schematics, and now the Giants can finally catch up to the rest of the league. We finally got out of the computers. We finally got out of the modern tech. We're finally got out of the analytics. We're all up to date on all those processes, except for what we put on the football field. We were leaning on Saquon Barkley to be most of the offense, and that was an unsustainable strategy because you're investing a lot of your production in a player who is at a position that is one of the most injury-prone in football. And obviously that reared its ugly head a number of times. Saquon fighting through injury, playing injured, whatever it might be, you name it, he was hurt a lot. And you look at this Giants team now, you transition to Devin Singletary, and you got Tyrone Tracy, different kind of situation there with a much more affordable price tag at the running back position. Positional value was a focal point clearly for the Giants, letting McKinney go, drafting a safety, obviously reallocating money towards the offensive line and acquiring Brian Burns. So you see this team has gone in the direction of investing in positions that have become very expensive. Wide receiver being one of them. Gabe Davis getting $13 million. Somebody got $19 million. We were like, how? Was like Calvin Ridley or something. There's guys that are getting paid out of the wazoo right now. The Giants said, well, if we can't get the quarterback that we want, let's not risk it all on QB4 in the draft. Let's take arguably WR1 in the draft. And given the fact that this wide receiver class was so good, and Nabers was, it was a 1A, 1B situation with him and Marvin Harrison Jr., you walk away with one of the best players and one of the best receiver draft classes we've seen in probably a decade. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of a really good situation to be in if you're the Giants and you can't get your quarterback. The alternative is an elite receiver that you have for the next 5 years at the very least. Now, Malik Nabers is not just your ordinary, hunky-dory talent, my friends. This is someone who's going to bring a lot of talent and skill sets to this team. And what I mean by that is he's 20 years old. His frame isn't even fully filled out yet. He is 6 foot, 200 pounds. The guy is tremendous in terms of physicality. His separation numbers are out of this world. He made up about 40%. Jaden Daniels last year, I think the only quarterback, you kind of told me this the other day, the only quarterback who had more yards than him was Carson Beck. Jaden Daniels almost had 4,000 passing yards, and about 40% of those passing yards were courtesy of Malik Nabers, who had just over 1,500 receiving yards last year and 14 touchdowns. That is the hallmark of a true WR1, a guy who is going to command reps, command attention. If Daniel Jones is not throwing him the ball a minimum of like 30% of the time, there is something going wrong there. He needs to be the focal point. The Giants need to be scheming him open. I'm not saying that's a Daniel Jones thing. It's also a Mike Kafka and a Brian Dable thing. It is a scheme thing. They need to focus on getting him the ball and scheming him open, because that is what's going to make this offense run. Now, looking at like his last year, he had 69.5% reception rate. He averaged 17.6 yards per catch. His versatility, 53.6% of his plays were in the slot, 46% out wide. He has the qualities to play inside and out, which adds to your versatility in terms of alignment. That's obviously something that's essential and imperative to having a WR1 who can move inside and out. Stephon Diggs did it. It does it. You see a lot of these great guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you can play him all over the football field. There's Tyreek Hill all over the football field. It's just the opportunities are endless. Malik Nabers, 589 yards after the catch. So about 33% of his yards came after the catch, 6.6 yards per reception. That would have led the Giants last year. He ranked 4th with 30 missed tackles forced in college football last season among receivers eligible to be included in that sample size. So, this is a player who top of the line, like tier 1 in deep yards, tier 1 in deep catches, tier 1 in missed tackles forced, tier 1 in yards per reception after contact. This is someone who brings elements to the Giants offense that we have not seen for 5-6 years since OBJ. And this is a player, both LSU guys, what I like about Nabers even more than OBJ is he might even be better coming out of school. Like, he actually might be, he has better, I actually think he could be better than OBJ in terms of his long-term prospects. He's a little bit younger, and his skill set is even a little bit better because he has that agility that OBJ does. He has the route running that OBJ does, but he also has the physicality that like another bigger receiver would, like Justin Jefferson. So imagine like OBJ in a bigger body. Like, that's kind of what Malik Nabers is. You don't stumble upon guys like this, man. Like, if you have a chance to get him and you don't have conviction in your quarterback, like the Giants didn't have that in JJ McCarthy or Michael Penix, this is the next best thing. So, Anthony, give me your take about Malik Nabers. I know it was kind of a long spiel about him, but I do understand that like it's necessary because we have not seen this level of talent on the Giants in a long time, and I'm so happy to finally have it.
Oh man, me too. I mean, anybody that's been watching this channel for a while knows that wide receivers in particular, that's my thing. Like, I love to watch wide receivers. I love to talk about wide receivers. Whenever we do film breakdowns on the channel, I always want to do the wide receiver prospects for the draft. I want to talk about Wan'Dale Robinson or whoever's playing well for the New York Giants. I just love wide receivers. Like, it's just such a fun position because there's such an art to route running. There's a way that you have to manipulate your defender in order to break yourself open. You have to have IQ to sit down in zones. You have to make highlight reel grabs on a pretty much game-by-game basis to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. It's just a fun position. And when you have a fun player at that position, your team is infinitely more fun to watch. So the New York Giants, at the very least, guys, we've talked a lot about this over the past 5 years. They've been difficult to watch because they've been boring. Their offenses have been stagnant. They've sucked. They haven't had a playmaker who just breaks off home runs all the time. When they did, it was Saquon Barkley, and he was injured a lot. But at the very least, the Giants might be bad this year. They might only win 5 games. But they'll be more fun to watch. There will be highlights finally, because we do have Malik Nabers, and we have Wan'Dale and Hyatt, and Slayton makes a highlight every now and then, and those other guys are going to make more highlights now because defenses are going to be keyed in on Malik Nabers. So it's just going to be a more fun team to watch, which I think is, at the end of the day, sports, they're entertainment. The New York Giants, we watch them to root for them and be entertained by them, and at least we'll get a little bit more entertainment from the Giants this season at the very, very least. That's something to be happy about. But with Malik Nabers, what makes him so special? Obviously, you just threw out a bunch of stats, Alex, and you broke it down really well. One of the things that I do want to really key in on, though, is that Malik Nabers is an absolute weapon going deep. Like, if you're talking about deep threats, This guy is the deep threat. He had 624 deep receiving yards last season, which was third most in the draft class, on 29 deep targets, which was second most in the draft class. He brought in 19 of those 29 targets. And this is a stat that I really love, Alex. 20 plus yard throws. Usually you're talking about guys running wide open deep. He had 8 contested grabs on deep targets. He brought down 5 of them. Think about the level of strength and physicality that you need to catch a pass that's flown over 20 yards in the air while you're contested catching that thing. 5 of 8 is a really solid conversion rate on contested deep targets, and that's another reason that you could be really excited about Malik Nabers. His 97.8 deep receiving grade ranked number 1 among all wide receivers in the 2024 NFL draft class. So you want this guy to be underneath for you. We talked about yards after the catch weapons in a recent episode. Obviously, we discussed the missed tackles, 30 missed tackles from Malik Nabers. He forced a missed tackle once on every 3 plays in his collegiate career. That's an insane number. But not only is this a guy that you want to get the ball to in space, you could throw it up to him. 50-50 balls downfield. You can bank on him coming down with it. He did at a very high rate in his collegiate career. He's physical at the catch point. He's fast as hell off the line of scrimmage. He's just difficult to guard. And another thing that I do really like here, Alex, and this is a little bit more of an advanced metric from PFF called yards per route run. And they consider that to be one of their most valuable metrics that they have. It's according to the website, PFF's yards per route run metric divides a player's receiving yards total by the number of routes they ran, providing a better indicator of production than yards per reception or even yards per target. He averaged 3.64 yards per route run, which was among the top in college football over the past several years. I'm including guys like Jordan Addison in that equation. You really couldn't find a guy that was better and more productive on a play-by-play basis than Malik Nabers. And to take it a step further, if you want to just isolate his play versus man coverage, I think that's important to look at for the New York Giants, because we've talked a lot over the past few years, Alex, about the Giants not having enough speed and route running qualities to separate, right? Like, we needed more separators, guys who can just get open on their own. Malik Nabers averaged 2.78 yards per route run versus man coverage, which ranked third among all wide receivers in college since 2018. Over the last 5 years, he is the third best wide receiver to go up against man coverage, most productive out of all of them. Averaged 0.16 first downs per route versus man coverage. So 1 in every 10 routes that he's running is a first down against man coverage. The way that you can just look at any stat, anything, any metric, advanced metric, basic metric, and statistic from a box score, whatever you want to look at for Malik Nabers, he excels in it. He is like among the top out of any wide receiver of the past 5 years in any of these metrics that you're going to find, no matter what. And what that really tells me is that the Giants didn't just get a one-trick pony or a playmaker who does a couple things really well. They got a very well-rounded player, somebody with an expansive skill set who can play any role that you need him to in your offense. Let's say that the Giants are going up against a team that's playing a lot of cover 4, they're dropping everybody back. You can't throw the ball deep on these guys. Okay, Malik Nabers is going to catch it underneath, break 5 tackles, and go upfield and create first downs that way. Now, how about this? You're playing a team that plays a lot of cover 0. They're blitzing you. You got to get the ball out of your hands quick, but you know that there is no safety help over top. Malik Nabers, he's going to torch the guy off the line of scrimmage with his nasty release package, and he has more speed than pretty much any of the defensive backs that will be covering him. So against cover 0, just throw it deep down the field, let Nabers run underneath it, touchdowns. I love that this guy can just be played in any scheme for any team, and now he's playing in ours. Like, that's what's really exciting. The guy's skill set is just so translatable. And one of the things that you said, Alex, that I do also want to touch on, you mentioned that Nabers could potentially be better than OBJ early in his career. And to be fair to Odell, that rookie season, historic, maybe the best rookie season that we've seen from a wide receiver in the past 10 years, considering that he was injured for the first 4 weeks of the season and didn't play. But you are right in the sense that OBJ was the 12th overall pick in his draft class. He was not the same level of prospect as Malik Nabers. If you want to go talent for talent coming out of college, Malik Nabers is up there, not with OBJ coming out of school, but with Jamar Chase coming out of school, right? He's up there with those guys, the real elite of the elite wide receivers. And that's why I was so fine with the Giants taking him over any of the quarterbacks with the number 6 overall pick. At the end of the day, the New York Giants maybe they didn't upgrade at QB. Maybe you don't feel well about what they have at the quarterback position, but you do know that their offense is significantly better now because of Malik Nabers. And if they just build up this roster a little bit more, whenever they do get a new quarterback and he steps into this team, Nabers will now be a veteran. He will have a few years underneath him, at least one season underneath him. He'll be an even better player, and the Giants will be more suited to bring in a rookie and develop him properly. So every single way that you want to sell this thing to Giants fans, this draft pick, you got to find a reason to fall in love with it. His ability to make plays deep, underneath, just his route running in general, his tackle breaking ability. There is so much that you can do with Malik Nabers, and I think that ultimately he should go for 1,000 receiving yards as a rookie, and that should be the norm for him. I really do believe that he could have some very prolific statistics early on in his career. Alex, how are you feeling about that? You think the same as me, this is an immediate 1,000-yard receiver, and if he's not a 1,000-yard receiver, something had to have gone terribly wrong to prevent Nabers from reaching that threshold as a rookie, in my opinion.
I mean, we saw Zach Wilson get Garrett Wilson to 1,000 yards every year. I'm pretty sure Daniel Jones can do it. If he can't, we have much bigger problems than we realize. It's not just him. It's also the scheme. It's also, their inability to get him the football. The Giants haven't had a presence like this. This is going to be different because opposing teams would just stack the box against us. They'd stack the box, cover the first read, force Daniel Jones to run, or force Saquon Barkley to do something heroic. That was all we had for the most part. Now you have a guy like Malik Nabers that you cannot leave him on an island. You can't leave him in man coverage. If you're in man coverage, all Daniel Jones has to do is just put it in a place where he can make a play. You know what I mean? Just put it in a spot where Malik Nabers can either chase it down or at least have a chance to go up and get a contested catch. Like, it really is going to be that simple. I hope that Daniel Jones can have that touch on his passes. He kind of throws these lasers, and sometimes it's not the best for those type of contested catches. Tyrod Taylor's passes kind of make more sense to me for a guy like Malik Nabers. But, obviously, we'll see how it goes. I do believe that right now this offense is going to take a tremendous step in the right direction in terms of at least schematically. We're going to be able to open up the playbook. A better offensive line is imperative, obviously, to the strategy, which I think it will be better. I can't guarantee it, never can, but I'm hoping it can be better. What else do we have at this point but hope? And then Nabers, obviously, in conjunction with that, the downfield orientation, you have Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, and Malik Nabers. All three of those guys are capable of eating 20 plus yards downfield. Like they're all capable of being elite in those areas. The question is, how do you create deception with them, right? Because Jalen Hyatt's a kind of a one-trick pony at this point in time. He's really just your 9-route guy or crossing guy, maybe a 2-trick pony. He has more development that needs to be done. Slayton can do a lot more. He's capable of, obviously, running those digs, running those 9 routes. He can run. He's a little bit more of a developed route tree. With that being said, Nabers is capable of doing it all. You're looking at the slants, the crossers, the digs, the nines. Like, he is just capable. So I am curious to see how the Giants will utilize that, not to mention guys like Wan'Dale Robinson, who will feast in the slot. I'm excited, man. This team is going to be different, a lot different. And with all these mouths to feed, with all these different qualities and skill sets, there is no excuse for this offense to not be at least average. You know what I mean? We have too many good players to not be at least average. You have a world-class left tackle. You have a world-class receiver. You have good running backs. You have a world-class slot guy in one. Maybe not world-class, but I see he's an above-average slot guy. I think Slayton's a good WR2. Hyatt is capable of being a good WR2, for now WR3. This is a team that has a lot of pieces to work with. Like, there is no excuse for them to not be able to move the football downfield. So now it comes to actually execution and getting these guys where they need to be. I'm curious to see how it goes. But Nabers changes this offense more than Saquon ever did. Why? Because everybody knows if you're running the football and that's your only trick, you stack the box and you stop the run. That's it. That's all you have to do. And teams did it to the Giants, and they stopped the run for years. Nabers, you can't stop him if the scheme is right. You can't stop him if you get creative. You don't know think about it. If you're running the football, I know where Saquon's probably going. Unless he does something crazy, bounces it out and runs around the entire. If they're running to the right side, he's running to the right side. Nabers, if he's running a route, he has the advantage because the opposing defenders don't know what he's doing. And I think that's kind of add another element to this team, this offense that we have not seen since OBJ. So I'm excited to see how they maximize it, how they utilize him as a rookie, 20-year-old rookie for that matter. But I do think this is a talent that we have not had, and it's going to change things for the better, and not just next season. And I know a lot of people in the comments, who's throwing the football? I agree. I get it. I'm in the same boat. But this is not just about 2024. This is setting the stage, building the foundation for 2025 and beyond. So keep that in mind when you're asking these questions and making those comments, because I get it. I'm in the same boat as you, but I have to think long term here, because this is a guy that's under contract for 5 years, and you have to remember that.
100%. This is not, the draft is not about winning now. You don't draft players to make your team better for the upcoming season. Yes, you hope that these guys do make your team better the upcoming season, but really you draft these players to make your team better in the long run, over the next several seasons, the next several years, and that's what Malik Nabers is going to do for the New York Giants. Not only are the Giants a better team in 2024 because they have Malik Nabers, but even in 2025 and 2026 and 2027 if all goes according to plan. So you got to be excited about the long-term aspect here with Malik Nabers and the other talents that the Giants added in the draft as well. I think, you can look at Tyler Nubin and say the Giants secondary is better than it was on paper going into this season, and now they've got a really good player to build around. It's very important for teams to have core foundational pieces, young players that they know will be around for several years. The Giants traded for Brian Burns, immediately gave him a 5-year contract. You've got Dexter Lawrence under contract for a while, Andrew Thomas, and now Malik Nabers, Tyler Nubin, Andrew Phillips, all these other guys. Having them under contract long term is really important. And so you do have to take a look at Malik Nabers and say, yeah, I don't know who's going to be throwing him the ball super efficiently this season. Maybe I don't believe in Daniel Jones, and I don't think he's going to be that guy. Maybe you do, and that's totally cool as well. But if you don't think that, you do know that eventually Malik Nabers will get that QB if you don't think Daniel Jones is that QB, and he'll still be here with the New York Giants for the next few years. So whenever they get that guy that you like at QB, Malik Nabers will be ready to catch the ball, and hopefully will be an even better player by then. He's stepping into the league really good right now. He's 20, like you said, Alex. What about when he's 23, 3 seasons from now, after he's already had a couple 1,000-yard receiving seasons put under his belt? Then the Giants get their quarterback. Say that's when it happens. Well, now he's not throwing to a rookie Malik Nabers. He is throwing to a veteran Malik Nabers. Think about how dangerous that could be. He might be an even better player, might be faster, might be stronger. So I think that's another thing to keep in mind. The long-term prospects of Malik Nabers makes him so exciting for the Giants team, for whichever quarterback you want to be throwing the ball to him. It's just going to be a lot of fun to see Malik Nabers develop over the next few years and become an even better talent than what he is right now. So we did a whole breakdown there, talked a lot about Malik Nabers. As you guys could tell, we are very excited about him. I'm definitely looking forward to making more content on Malik Nabers on the channel. Stay tuned to that. I think we're going to do a film breakdown soon as well, take a look at some of the All-22 and really just get delighted at the sight of Malik Nabers just torching SEC cornerbacks and making crazy plays. I've looked through his All-22 many different times. There are some plays on there that when you get it into that coach's film camera angle, you see the whole field and you just see, how did this guy make that play? Like there's one in particular where he catches a stop route, takes it up from the right side of the field to the left side, all the way up the sideline, scores a touchdown. If you freeze frame it on the All-22, there is no possible way that he should have scored on that play, but he does anyway. And he makes a few of those plays on his film. So it's going to be fun. Make sure to stay tuned. We'll be talking more Malik Nabers and doing some breakdowns and taking a look at coach's film for not only Nabers, but Nubin as well, Tyrone Tracy, all of these guys that you guys want to see. And of course, if there's anyone else that you want us to break down, you just drop it below in the comments. We're always looking and we're always happy to hear the feedback, and we'll do what you guys want on this channel. But that pretty much wraps this one up. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening to Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.